She called the cops on me for watering my lawn. Yeah, standing there in flip-flops holding a garden hose, I somehow became a threat. 5 minutes later, I was being questioned in front of my 8-year-old daughter, while the woman who started it all smiled like she'd just won something. But what she didn't know was that a few weeks later, she'd be the one losing everything to me. It started that quiet Saturday morning in October. The kind where you smell toast and cut grass and think maybe life's finally leveling out. I'd been up since 6, flipping pancakes for my daughter Sloane, trying to keep the house full of sound again after my wife Willa passed 2 years ago. The yellow chrysanthemums she planted were finally blooming. I remember feeling proud about keeping them alive this long. And then, like a bad dream in high heels, Karen Ashford showed up. She stood on my lawn in a gray suit and heels that sank into the grass I'd just reseeded, clipboard in hand. 2 other HOA members behind her like backup dancers from hell. Mr. Merrick, she said, her tone so cold I could see my breath in it. This is your 3rd violation. You have 24 hours to repaint your home to an approved color, or we'll move forward with legal action. I blinked. I knew my property papers backward. I'm an architect. I'm sorry, but I'm not part of your HOA, I said calmly. The deed says I'm not subject to any covenants. Her smile was thin, sharp. Everyone in Greenfield Estates is in the HOA. You can't just opt out. I'm not opting out, I said. My property line's outside your jurisdiction. Check the plat map. That's when she reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone, slow, deliberate. Since you're being uncooperative and hostile, I'm calling the police. Hostile. I was holding a garden hose. Before I could respond, she was already on the phone, voice trembling like she was auditioning for a 911 commercial. Yes, I need police at 2847 Maple Drive. Resident is becoming verbally aggressive. I'm concerned for my safety. Sloane froze by her bike, eyes wide. My stomach dropped. By the time the patrol car rolled up, neighbors were peeking from their windows. Officer Finch, someone I recognized from Sloane's school safety day, stepped out. Karen launched into her story, waving her clipboard like a badge. He threatened me when I served the notice, she said. I didn't even raise my voice, but there I was standing like a criminal while my daughter watched. Finch finally said, "Ma'am, this seems like a civil matter. HOA disputes should go through proper channels." Karen still smiled. She didn't care about winning this battle. She wanted the report. Paperwork, a trail of non-compliance. She taped a bright red envelope to my door like she was marking prey and left. That night, Sloane asked me, "Daddy, did I do something wrong? I almost broke." I told her no, that it was just a grown-up problem. But the truth was, I felt powerless. Like the house Willa and I built was under siege. I went down to the basement and opened the fireproof box where I kept all our documents. Deed survey plat map. Everything said the same thing, not subject to restrictive covenants. But under those papers was an unopened letter from a law firm, Hartman and Pettigrew. I tore it open. It said I'd inherited controlling shares 51% in Greenfield Management, LLC, the company that managed all HOA operations for Greenfield Estates, the company that paid Karen's checks. I read it 3 times before it hit me she wasn't the boss. I was. I called the firm first thing Monday. Mr. Merrick, the attorney, said you inherited those shares from your wife's great-aunt, Iris Caldwell. She owned the management company that contracts with the HOA. You now hold controlling interest. I didn't know whether to laugh or scream. Karen was threatening to sue me and I technically signed her paychecks. But I played it cool. Let's confirm everything before I act, I said. Meanwhile, Karen doubled down. More violations arrived: grass too tall, unapproved mailbox, unauthorized vehicle. All fabricated. It was like she needed me to snap. And for a moment I almost did. There was one night where I sat at the kitchen table surrounded by red envelopes and thought maybe I should just pay. Maybe it's easier. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I misunderstood the paperwork. I felt Willa's absence heavier than ever. And then I remembered something she once told me: you make broken things beautiful again. That was enough. I wasn't going to let someone like Karen break this. I read the rest of the documents from the firm. Iris had also commissioned a forensic audit of the HOA's finances before she died. When I opened the report, my hands shook. Over $340,000 in expenses with no records paid to Karen's brother's landscaping company to consultants that didn't exist and to a firm whose initials matched Karen's full name. She'd been embezzling money for years using fines and fear to cover it. I called the attorney Lorna Pettigrew again. She confirmed it all. If you can prove harassment and bad faith, you can terminate the management contract and dissolve their authority, she said. That night, I installed 4 cameras around my house. The next morning, I had footage Karen herself at 2:30 a.m., taping another violation to my mailbox. A day later, her brother snuck onto my lawn with a measuring tape, writing things down like he was auditing God's grass. I had it all time-stamped high-def, undeniable. Still, she escalated. Filed false complaints with the city, claimed I'd done unpermitted structural changes. The inspector came, looked around, apologized. "Someone's clearly trying to mess with you," he said. Name on the complaint, Karen Ashford. Enough was enough. I contacted one of the board members, Tom Miller, the treasurer. We met in secret. He looked exhausted. "She's been hiding finances for years," he whispered. "Every time I ask, she retaliates." We made a plan the upcoming HOA annual meeting November 15th. I'd present my evidence publicly with the entire community watching. No more behind-the-scenes intimidation. I prepared like I was building a case for a courtroom. Maps, video, audit, everything organized. The night before the meeting, Sloan and I planted new bulbs in the garden. Mom said, "Crocuses are brave," she told me. "They bloom even when it's cold." She was right, I said, and I meant more than the flowers. The meeting was held in the community center. Over 100 people showed up, some curious, some just wanting free coffee. Karen sat at the head table dressed in black like she was attending her own coronation. She smiled when she saw me. "Mr. Merrick," she said, "I'm surprised you had the courage to show up." I took a seat near the front. The treasurer opened by asking for a detailed financial report citing state law. Karen's jaw tightened. "That level of detail isn't necessary," she said. Tom didn't back down. "It's required." The room went silent. Then I stood. "Madam President," I said, "I have something to add." Karen snapped, "You have no standing here." "Actually," I said, connecting my laptop to the projector, "I do." The first slide lit up a plat map showing the HOA boundary and my property clearly outside it. "This is PM 195C. The Caldwell subdivision predates the HOA by 6 years. Karen stood. "This meeting is not for personal disputes." I clicked to the next slide. The deed highlighted, "Property not subject to restrictive covenants." Then, the next footage of her at 2:30 a.m., creeping up to my mailbox. Gasps rippled through the crowd. "That video is out of context," she shouted. "Here's more context," I said. Another clip, her brother measuring my lawn in the dark. Then the audit report line items in red: payments to her family, fake companies, missing funds. The room erupted, people yelling. One woman shouted, "I knew those fines were fake." Karen slammed the gavel. "This is harassment. This audit is illegal." I took a breath. "No, it's official. And as of last month, I became the majority shareholder of Greenfield Management LLC, the company you work for." Silence. You could hear a pin drop. As majority shareholder, I continued holding up a notarized document. "I'm terminating our management contract with this HOA effective immediately due to embezzlement, fraud, and harassment." Karen's face drained of color. "You can't do that," she screamed. "Oh, I just did." The treasurer stood. "I move for an immediate vote of no confidence in President Ashford." Hands shot up. 6-1. Karen stayed frozen, staring straight ahead, clipboard still in her hands like a broken weapon. It was over. The police arrived minutes later to take preliminary statements. The treasurer announced a full audit of all finances. Neighbors came up to me afterward, some crying, some thanking me. But all I could think about was that first morning, the garden hose, the humiliation Sloane's face when the cops questioned me. Karen was arrested a week later for embezzlement and filing false reports. The HOA was dissolved and rebuilt from scratch with new bylaws, transparency, and resident oversight. I never celebrated. There was no victory dance, just quiet relief. When the news broke, reporters called me a hero. I'm not. I'm just someone who had proof and refused to be bullied. That Saturday, I watered Willa's flowers again. The air was still peaceful, and for the first time in months, no one was watching. Sloane rode her bike past me, laughing. I looked at the house, the street of the neighborhood that had turned into a battlefield and then somehow back into a community. Karen thought she could own everything through fear, but in the end, all she built was her own downfall. You can't control people through lies forever. The truth always files its paperwork.